Welcome to How Hacks Happen. I'm your host, Michelle Bousquet, and I'm a cybersecurity researcher and author who really doesn't like catfishing because it can ruin people's lives. This is the last in our 3-part series where I'll tell you about an even darker side of catfishing, one that can draw innocent people into a life of crime. If you haven't listened to parts 1 and 2 of our catfishing series yet, you might want to do that first. In any case, here's a quick recap. A catfish named Parker, who is a teenager from Nigeria, has been pretending to be Warden Kennedy, a charming, handsome, middle-aged American who's in line to receive a large fortune. Parker love bombs Mary, a retired school teacher in Pennsylvania, and he uses all manner of technology to fool Mary into thinking Warden is for reals. Mary eventually falls in love with Warden, even though they've never met in person. When Warden appears to be stuck in Istanbul and needs money to get back to the United States, Mary sends thousands of dollars to him before she realizes the money was actually going to a catfish. That story, and the one you're about to hear, are based on the real stories of catfish victims. Everything that happens in these stories has actually happened to someone in a catfish scam. While Mary's romance scam is tragic on its own, things could have actually gone much worse. In this episode, I'll tell you about a catfish scam that doesn't involve sending money to other people. It's about receiving money. And it can land the victim in jail. The easiest way to explain this is to go back to the story of Parker, aka Warden. In the first 2 parts of this series, we focused on Parker catfishing Mary, a lonely widow from Pittsburgh. But little did we know that at the same time, Parker was also catfishing several other women, including Alice, but with an entirely different script. Alice's story starts off a lot like Mary's. Alice meets Warden when he sends her a message on Facebook, telling her she has a beautiful smile. Alice is divorced in her late 50s, working as a hospice nurse, and lives in the suburbs of Denver, Colorado. Her daughters are grown and gone, but they live not too far away and they check in with her often. Still, she's pretty lonely, and getting attention from a good-looking member of the Kennedy family lifts her spirits. Warden tries his standard script of love-bombing Alice, but his efforts fall flat. Alice just isn't into it. Plus, she makes it clear that she's never going to send any money to Warden. Still, Alice keeps responding to him because the chatting is fun. And in no time at all, they're messaging several times a day. Warden can be pretty funny, and he seems to appreciate Alice's sense of humor too. Alice eventually admits to Warden that chatting with him has become the high point of her day, and she even calls him her best friend. So Warden, shifts gears and tries something else. He asks, "How would you like to make some extra money?" Well, duh, that's a silly question. Who wouldn't? Especially Alice. In case you didn't know, hospice workers do okay, but they don't make a huge amount of money. And Alice is struggling a little, especially since the insurance on her house went up last year. And with retirement looming in a few years, Alice has been considering doing a side hustle of some kind. This is one of the little factoids that she shared with Warden during their many chats together. So Warden makes a proposal. If Alice could take on this little part-time job just 3 hours a week, it would help Warden so much. He's got this little financial dilemma, And he's so happy he met Alice because she can help him solve this problem so easily. And she can make a few bucks in the process. Win-win. During their many conversations, Warden had shared with Alice his dreams of running for office so he could take his rightful place as a member of the Kennedy family in the United States Senate. And Alice had said that she'd like to find a way to increase her income to cover her ever-increasing bills. This is a way to make both their dreams come true. They can help each other, as best friends do. See what Parker did there? For the backstory for Warden, Parker is using the same story for Alice as he did for Mary. Using the same backstory makes it easier for Parker to keep track of his scams. Warden also says this little side hustle has to be kept on the down low. Like Alice can't tell anyone about it, not even her daughters, because Warden's political rivals might get wind of it, and he just can't take that risk. Okay, Alice is a little hesitant at first, but after some thought, sounds kind of exciting. She doesn't get much excitement in her life these days. Now her handsome, soon-to-be famous best friend is offering her some of the old, razzle-dazzle, the old whatever you want to call it. But whatever it is, Alice, she wants a little of that, plus some extra cash. And with the hook set, the catfish is ready to reel her in. And this is where the real scam begins. Alice is about to become a money mule. A money mule? What the heck is that? A mule is an animal that comes from the breeding of a donkey and a horse. Donkeys and horses aren't the same species, but they can mate to produce mules. When our ancestors were trying to decide what four-legged creature to use to carry stuff around, donkeys and horses were at the top of the list. But, donkeys can be really stubborn, and horses only live 25 to 30 years. But mules, the product of their union, are that lovely combination of the less stubborn horse and the longer-living donkey. For this reason, mules have been, for centuries, the beast of choice for transporting goods over rough terrain or long distances. But keep in mind, this is never the mule's choice. The mule has a master that makes this choice. While actual mules are still around and are used in the same way, the term mule is also used to describe a person who transports drugs or other illegal goods. The mule isn't the boss or the instigator. They're just the one carrying the stuff. If you've seen the movie Goodfellas, you saw this in action. In one of the scenes, the main character's babysitter, Lois, gets busted for trying to smuggle cocaine onto a plane. Lois was a mule. She got 10 years in prison while her boss got witness protection. Yep, that's how it goes for the mule. All the risk, none of the glory. Mules aren't just used for drugs. They can also be used for other types of illegal goods, like money obtained from scams. And a lot of them don't even know they're doing it. Let's get back to Warden and see what he has in mind for this amazing plan that will help both himself and Alice. At the center of Warden's backstory is that he wants to get into politics. He's been working behind the scenes, he says, to garner support for his election. He can't wait for his mommy's $83 million inheritance to come through. No. He wants to get things going now, right away. He tells Alice that happily, there are a number of Senate and House members willing to back him up. The thing is, they have to do it quietly, so they want to give Warden campaign donations on the sly, which poses a problem. Warden can't have this money coming directly to him, so he needs an intermediary, and Alice is the perfect person to do this. All Alice has to do is accept some transfers to her bank account, which she will then pass on to Warden. And for her trouble, Alice gets to keep 5%. Easy peasy. To get things rolling, Warden asks Alice for her bank account number. But Alice isn't comfortable with this. You don't give out your bank account number. I mean, she trusts Warden, but what about all his politician friends? They might do something with her money, and there's kind of a lot in there, like over $50,000 that she's saved up for retirement. So Warden suggests something else. Alice is going to set up a new bank account, one completely separate from her main account, and that's the one they'll use for the transfers. That seems legit to Alice. Then Warden walks Alice through setting up an account on one of the main cryptocurrency exchanges. So, quick primer here. When you get cryptocurrency, you pay for it with an established currency like US dollars in this case. And in exchange, you get a certain amount of coins in that cryptocurrency. Like at the time of this episode, one Bitcoin is worth around 90,000 US dollars. You can get fractional coins too. So for say, $1,000, you can buy a tiny piece of a Bitcoin. And these purchases go through a financial mechanism called an exchange. But to purchase coins on these exchanges, you have to sign up for an account and give them some identifying information like your name and phone number. And whatever cryptocurrency you buy, it gets put in a digital wallet. This is why you'll sometimes hear people talking about their Bitcoin wallet. It's not actually a physical wallet, it's all digital. I know, if you've never dealt with cryptocurrency, this can seem really unsafe and weird, but millions of people all over the world do this every day, and generally, it works just fine. So Alice sets up the account, entering in her personal information, and she links her new bank account to the crypto exchange too. So far, everything's legit. A few days later, big amounts start showing up in Alice's new bank account. 10,000 here, 50,000 there, and every few days, Alice subtracts out her 5%, transfers it to her main account, and puts the rest in her Bitcoin wallet. And after a few of these, Warden walks Alice through transferring the Bitcoin in her wallet to his own Bitcoin wallet. Warden is very happy and excited. He can just taste his political future. And Alice is really impressed with herself. She's learning some new things about technology. Hey, and maybe she'll even invest in a little crypto herself. This goes on for a few months, with Warden getting these wonderful contributions, and Alice making a nice little sum of money on the side. Then Warden changes things up. One day, a package gets delivered to Alice's house, and it contains a big teddy bear. At first, Alice thinks it's just a gift, but there's no card or receipt or anything in the box. Then Warden pipes up and says, "Hey, did you get the bear?" Warden tells Alice to look up inside the bear's stuffing, and to her shock and surprise, there's cash stuffed up in the bear, like $10,000, all in 20s and 50s and hundreds. Piles and piles of them. Warden tells Alice that one of his supporters is super sensitive about his privacy, so he chose to mail a package of cash instead of doing a wire transfer. The post office sometimes scans packages to see their contents, which is why the money is in a stuffed bear. Alice is going to buy gift cards with the money and send Warden the codes off the backs of the cards. And Alice can keep 10% of the money this time, $1,000. Oh, this is awesome. Alice is already planning what she's going to spend that money on. Oh, but first, she has to get the gift cards. Buying the gift cards actually turns out to be kind of a pain, since no one store will sell her $9,000 worth of gift cards. So she goes to several stores and buys one at each place. Then she scratches off the back of each card and sends the codes to Warden. And with her $1,000, Alice goes out and buys some new clothes, which she hasn't done in a long time. She snaps a picture of herself in one of her cute new outfits and sends it to Warden, and he gushes over it. He is so glad he could help her look so nice. Alice, in her excitement, texts some pictures to her daughter Darla, too. Darla is a lawyer who lives in the city, and she doesn't get out to visit her mom very often. But instead of being excited for her, Darla starts grilling her mom about this new side hustle. And in hearing more about it, Darla, who's hip to how catfishing works, immediately calls bullshit. Darla even searches for some of Warden's images, and she finds them in Sam Spike's Instagram. But Alice is not convinced. She insists that Sam has to be the catfish, not Warden. Warden trusts her so much, he even sent her a picture of his driver's license, like, her bestie has to be for reals. I mean, look, she has new clothes, and maybe pretty soon she'll be able to get a new car. Warden is the best. Darla is frustrated at this, but there's not much she can do. I mean, it's her mom's money, so she drops it for the moment. Next, Warden has a bunch of electronics delivered to Alice's house. There is a PlayStation, an iPad, 3 of the latest iPhones, and a bunch of 5 terabyte external hard disks, and 6 laptops. Alice just has to box them all up and send them to Warden's lawyer in Nevada. Easy peasy. And for this job, Alice gets to keep one of the laptops. She can keep it, sell it, give it away, do whatever she wants with it. Alice is really loving this new life, not having to worry about money. She uses her awesome new state-of-the-art laptop to message Warden and thank him for everything he's done for her. The next assignment is a little more exciting. Warden tells Alice to drive to an address in Silver Springs, Colorado, about an hour away from where she lives. There, she'll pick up a box of cash from a woman named Sheila, and Alice will use the cash to buy more electronics to send to Warden's other lawyer in Tennessee. Alice shouldn't say anything about Warden to Sheila. You know, the political campaign is still a secret, and if Sheila asks any questions, Alice should just say she's a courier. This one is really exciting. It's like Alice gets to be James Bond for a day. She puts on one of her new outfits and she hops in the car. In Silver Springs, Alice pulls up to a hotel, as instructed. When Alice gets to the door, she hears an argument going on inside. No matter, she has a job to do. Alice knocks on the door and is greeted by Sheila, an older woman, and a very tall younger man named Thomas, who is holding a cardboard box. Sheila looks like she's been crying, and Thomas is pretty red in the face. He looks pretty mad. Thomas peppers Alice with questions. Where is this money going? Who is this guy who's been threatening his mother? Alice repeats over and over that she's just a courier. Thomas ends up shoving the box into her arms and slamming the door in Alice's face. Well, that was weird. Alice doesn't know much about how political contributions work, but it doesn't feel like that's the way they would normally go. Oh well, she's got the box. Then she goes to 3 different stores on the way home, spreading out the purchases to avoid suspicion, just as Warden told her to. After Alice gets home, she looks out her window and is surprised to see Thomas, the guy who just slammed the door in her face, sitting in a car right in front of her house. She quickly pulls the curtains closed, but the encounter unnerves her a little. So slightly panicked, she messages Warden. He tells her not to worry. Thomas is just mad that his mom wanted to support Warden. I mean, after all, he is a disgraced Kennedy. But then, the very same day, Alice gets a letter from her bank saying they're freezing her account for suspicious activity. And now Alice can't shake the feeling that something is off about this little side hustle of hers. A few days later, a new message from Warden pops up. He praises Alice for such a job well done and asks her to do another pickup, this one in Cheyenne, Wyoming, a couple of hours away. But Alice, with this bad feeling about the Thomas guy and the letter from the bank, she just isn't in the mood. She says to Warden, "Nah, I need a break. Maybe next week." Really, she's just stalling for time until she sorts out the thoughts swirling around in her head. So Warden tries a different tactic. He trusts Alice so much, he says, that he wants her to do an even bigger assignment, this one in Kansas City. It's an 8-hour drive for Alice, but the payout for her would be $20,000. Oof, that's a lot of money. Alice would finally be able to get a new car to replace her old rattletrap. But she's still not sure. She'd have to take time off work and this bank thing. Warden presses her some more. He really wants her to do this. And she can just deposit the money in a Bitcoin ATM. She doesn't have to drive around and get electronics or gift cards. It'll be really easy. Could she please just do it? When Alice says no again, Warden plays his trump card. "If you don't do this for me," he says, "I'll tell the police that you've been laundering money." This stops Alice in her tracks. Has she been laundering money? Has she been involved in taking illegal money and making it look legal? Like cash in a box that you turn into gift cards or electronics? Or bank deposits from who knows where that you send off to some Bitcoin wallet? Alice gets a sinking feeling in the pit of her stomach. She thinks about everything she's done and realizes that's exactly what she's been doing. She's been laundering money for Warden, and she knows enough about the law to know that she could go to jail for this. Oh, and her daughters will be so ashamed, and Alice would probably lose her job and maybe even her house. Alice pushes down the panic welling up inside of her, and she takes a deep breath. And she responds to Warden. She says, "Let me think about it." And she shuts off her computer. Alice has to think. Just think, don't freak out. She hasn't willingly done anything illegal. She was just, she was stupid. No, don't go there. That's not constructive. Just deep breaths. Alice realizes she kept the original box that the teddy bear came in, the one with the $10K stuffed up in it. The return address for the package is from someone named Mary in Pennsylvania. Sound familiar? Yep, the same Mary from parts 1 and 2 of this series that was trying to get Warden out of Turkey so the two of them could be together. But Alice doesn't know this. She just thought Mary was a politician's secretary or something. Deep breaths. Alice calls the phone number on the box, not knowing what to expect. And miraculously, Mary picks up. And the two of them talk. It's a long conversation, over 2 hours long. And by the end, both Alice and Mary are crying. It turns out Mary thought she was sending a box with $10,000 to Warden's lawyer to get him out of a Turkish jail. And on Alice's side, Warden never said anything to her about being in Turkey. They put it all together, and Alice realizes that this super exciting, super lucrative side hustle is a big scam designed to make her into a money mule. And if the police come a knocking, the money mule will be the one to take the fall, not the scammer. At this point, Alice has two choices. She can keep working for Warden, even though she now knows what she's doing is illegal, and hope the police never connect her to it. Or she can call the police herself, tell them what she did, and give them all the information she has, and hopefully convince them that she was a victim too, just like Mary and Sheila. What's it going to be, Alice? Denver Police Department, how may I direct your call? I'd like to report a money laundering scam. Good job, Alice. Good job. In case it's not clear how the money laundering worked here, let's take a closer look. Money laundering takes cash that was gotten illegally and makes it look like money obtained legally. So the person who gets the money can spend it without raising any red flags with the banks or the police. If you've watched the series Breaking Bad, you saw some money laundering going on in season 4. Walter White, a meth dealer who regularly receives huge piles of cash for the drugs, can't just go around spending it. So instead, he buys a car wash. To launder the meth cash, he inflates the car wash's sales numbers every day. So if the car wash did $1,000 worth of business, Walter goes to the cash register and puts in another $2,000 worth of sales and marks it all as cash sales. Then he takes his $2,000 from his stash of meth cash and deposits it into the company bank account, and the receipts make it look like it's just a really profitable day down at the old car wash. Then Walter can withdraw that money, transfer it, spend it, whatever, and it all looks perfectly legal. In the case of Parker/Warden, the money comes from a scam, and he can't just have his online girlfriends wire the money directly into his own bank account. A bank account has a name and an identity associated with it, so no. The money needs to take a different route, one that will be very hard to trace. He can't have a whole bunch of money coming into one Bitcoin wallet. Instead, he shuffles the money around between different wallets to make it harder to trace. As for the electronics Alice sent to Nevada, those went to another money mule who converted them into Best Buy gift cards and sent the card numbers to Parker. With gift cards, Warden was selling them on the black market for 80% of their value. The money from those sales presumably goes into another account of some kind like Cash App. It's all with the goal of shuffling it around so no one knows where it came from or where it went. There are other tricks, too many to describe. The point is, these scammers are adept at shuffling money around so it's hard to trace where it came from and where it's going. Mysterious bank deposits, cash in a box, gift cards, Bitcoin transfers, deposits to a Bitcoin ATM. These are all red flags to watch out for when spotting a money laundering scam. Let's take a peek in back at Alice to see how she's doing. Here's the 2 addresses he gave me for a pickup.
Thank you for that. We'll head over right away and talk to them.
Mom, I came as fast as I could. Is everything okay? I'm her lawyer.
Everything's just fine. Your mom is cooperating fully. There won't be any charges.
I feel so stupid. I thought he was my friend. Oh, Mom, don't. Everything's gonna be okay. This tender exchange brings me to another point. You can laugh at people who fall for money laundering scams and romance scams, call them stupid, make them feel even worse than they already do. But I ask you, have you ever done anything stupid? I know I have. Instead of calling these victims names, how about we educate people so it doesn't happen anymore? If you know someone who's at risk for one of these scams, someone lonely, someone who's a little naive about the internet. Show them the YouTube channel Catfished. It's a fascinating watch, and it will educate way more than one-sided lectures or finger-wagging or I told you so's. You can also point them to this podcast, particularly the 3 episodes on catfishing, including this one. I made these episodes especially for this purpose, to educate more people so we can all stay safer. And maybe, just maybe, one day, these kinds of scams will be a thing of the past. I really hope this exposition of catfishing helps you understand the nature of these scams and how you can steer clear of them and help your family and friends to do the same. Shout out to Katie Hayes of Katie Hayes Productions for producing this episode. This is How Hacks Happen, signing off till next time.